The rain hammered against my windshield as I pulled up to Vanessa's pristine suburban house. My heart stopped. There on the porch, huddled against the storm, sat my 6-year-old son, soaked to the bone, trembling. His little backpack beside him spilled wet books and clothes onto the concrete. His lips were blue, his eyes red and vacant. I bolted from the car, my own clothes instantly drenched as I sprinted toward him. When I scooped him into my arms, he didn't cry or speak. He just collapsed against me like a wounded animal seeking shelter. Then I felt him shiver and heard his tiny voice whisper against my neck. "She hit me with the shoe, Mama. I was just singing. I wasn't yelling." My name is Rachel. I'm 34 and a tech consultant. This is the story of how I turned a rainstorm into a hurricane. The front door swung open as I carried Owen to my car. Vanessa stood there in her designer outfit, casually sipping a mimosa, her makeup perfect, not a single golden hair out of place. She leaned against the door frame with a smirk that made my blood boil. "Oh, come on," she said, rolling her eyes. "It wasn't that serious. He was being obnoxious, screaming like a banshee while I was on an important Zoom call. I needed peace." I froze, my son's small body still shivering against mine. "You hit him." "Don't be dramatic." She actually laughed. "It was a slipper. Kids need discipline." I tucked Owen into the back seat of my car, wrapped him in the emergency blanket I kept in my trunk. His eyes watched me, trusting me to make this right. "You threw my son into a thunderstorm," I said, turning back to face her. Vanessa took another sip from her glass. "He's fine. Honestly, if you weren't such a coddling single mom, maybe he wouldn't be so—" I slammed the car door before she could finish, cutting off her words, but not the damage they'd done. My hands shook as I started the engine and drove away from my sister's house. My vision blurring with tears I refused to let fall. Not yet. Not until Owen was safe. For 6 years, I'd worked 2 jobs while building a tech consultancy on the side. I'd grown accustomed to the dismissive comments from my family about my little hobby business, while they fawned over Vanessa's every achievement. The perfect daughter with her perfect career, perfect fiancé, and now, perfect wedding on the horizon. I'd spent a lifetime being compared to her and found wanting. When I dropped Owen at my sister's that morning, I'd felt the usual twist of inadequacy. My mother had orchestrated the visit, insisting it would help Owen bond with his aunt before the wedding and give me time to catch up on whatever it is you do. The same mother who had funded Vanessa's college education but told me to apply for loans. The same father who had given Vanessa the down payment for her house but suggested I look into affordable housing programs. At home, I bathed Owen, warming his cold little body, reassuring him with every touch that he was safe. He was loved, he mattered. Once he fell asleep, clinging to me even in his dreams, I called my parents. "Mom," Vanessa hit Owen and locked him outside in the rain. A long pause, then my mother's practiced sigh. "You always exaggerate, honey." "What? I'm not—" My father's voice cut in. "Vanessa's just stressed with the wedding. Don't ruin her moment." Not a single question about Owen, not a hint of concern for their grandson, just excuses, just deflection. "Did you hear me?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper. "She hit your grandson and left him in a thunderstorm." "Well," my mother replied, "maybe if he wasn't so loud all the time." I hung up, staring at my phone in disbelief as a text message appeared almost immediately. "Don't make this into drama. Your sister's wedding is next week. Don't ruin it like you ruin everything." Something broke inside me that night. Not loudly, not obviously, but completely. I looked at my sleeping son, his face still showing traces of tears even in rest, and made a decision. They didn't protect him. They didn't protect me. They laughed. I was done playing nice. The next morning, while Owen played with his toy truck on the rug beside me, I opened my laptop and began. What my family didn't know, what they had never bothered to ask, was that my little side hustle had grown. The tech project I'd consulted on 2 years ago, the one Vanessa had mockingly called my cute hobby, had quietly exploded. I had savings, I had connections, I had silent investors who respected my work. I spent the day making calls, first to a lawyer, then to 3 more, then to the country club where Vanessa was planning her wedding. It took one conversation, 2 wire transfers to the right accounts, and 40 minutes of paperwork. The venue was mine now. The reservation canceled. They wouldn't know it yet, though. I wanted it to sting. In the days leading up to the wedding, my parents barely acknowledged me. No apology, no check-in on Owen. My mother posted endless social media stories about family unity and countdown to forever. Vanessa had dress fittings, spa days, bridal photo shoots, a princess preparing for her coronation. On Tuesday, 5 days before the wedding, the club emailed her with the news. The venue was under new ownership and unavailable for her event. My phone rang within the hour. "Did you do something?" Vanessa hissed. "Excuse me?" "Don't play dumb. You always wanted to ruin my life. What did you say to them?" I kept my voice neutral. "I didn't say anything. But it's funny you think I could." "You're such a bitter," she began, but I hung up. Instead, I focused on my own plan. I created a private event, not a wedding, not a party, just a celebration. I invited people they knew, not my parents, not Vanessa, just the extended family and friends who had always looked at me like I was invisible. I booked a caterer, a string quartet. I had photos of Owen and me, framed and placed throughout the hall. I created a slideshow of years of hard work, promotions, milestones, and Owen's drawings. I wanted the world to see what they had chosen to overlook. Vanessa called again 2 days later. They canceled the decorator and the band. What's going on? I let the silence linger. Maybe you should ask Mom and Dad. They seem to think you deserve everything. Maybe they'll manifest it for you. You selfish, like you were when you struck a child with a slipper and threw him into the rain. Dead silence, then softly, he was being loud. And you'll remember that every time you hear thunder. I hung up again, but I wasn't done. The day of what should have been her wedding arrived, Saturday, exactly 9 days after the incident with Owen. Guests showed up to the country club and were redirected with a printed sign that read, "Private celebration of strength and survival, by invitation only." I had coordinated with the venue staff the previous day to ensure all guests would be properly directed. Inside, I stood at the center, Owen in a tiny suit beside me. I watched as old family friends, distant relatives, and even some of Vanessa's bridesmaids looked at the photo wall and whispered about the betrayal, the success, the story of a woman they didn't bother to know. And when Vanessa finally stormed through the doors, dressed in full bridal glam, tears streaking her mascara, demanding to know why, I looked her in the eyes and smiled. "You hit my son," I said clearly. "You mocked me. You erased us. This," I gestured around the room, "this is what forgotten looks like." She turned to my parents, expecting support, but even they stood frozen because someone had leaked the security footage from her porch that night. Earlier that week, I had obtained the footage from her doorbell camera through a friend who worked in tech security, the same friend who helped me quietly upload it to social media the day before. The internet had seen it. The news had picked it up. Sponsors had backed out. Her fiancé had quietly flown back to his parents' home, and now she stood in a designer dress, alone, humiliated, and begging. Vanessa collapsed into one of the empty chairs, her white dress now wrinkled and soaked in sweat. Her perfectly styled hair clung to her cheeks. Everyone was staring, but no one stepped in to help her. She kept whispering, "This wasn't supposed to happen. This was my day." And for once in her life, no one cared. Across the room, Owen looked up at me. "Mommy, why is Auntie crying?" I bent down to his level and kissed his forehead. Because she finally saw the storm she caused. I didn't want revenge. I wanted reckoning. And this was just the beginning. My parents approached timidly, the same parents who'd watched my child be thrown into the rain and laughed about it. My mother adjusted her pearl necklace nervously. My father cleared his throat. "You didn't have to destroy her life like this," he said. I tilted my head. "Did you say that when she raised her hand to a child?" "She was under stress," my mother replied. "The wedding planning." She struck my son and you laughed, I snapped, my voice sharp now. You watched a 6-year-old sobbing and shivering and said he should be quieter. You don't get to moralize now. But to air it all out online, my father tried again. That footage going viral, that was cruel. I looked them dead in the eye. She hit a child and then you posted cake photos like nothing happened. You taught her that cruelty has no consequences. I just corrected the equation. They had no words. Behind me, the string quartet played softly. Owen was dancing with one of the wait staff. Guests were still mingling, still talking in hushed tones. Some avoided Vanessa. Others looked at her like she was a stranger, because she was. The mask had finally cracked. And it didn't stop there. A week later, I received an email from Vanessa's former fiancé. No anger, no threats, just a quiet message. Thank you. I didn't see it before, but I do now. I hope you and your son are safe and healing. 2 weeks after that, a sponsorship company announced they were pulling Vanessa from their influencer roster, citing recent revelations inconsistent with our values. A month later, my mother tried calling again. We need help, she said quietly. The community won't speak to us. Everyone thinks we condone abuse. I paused. Don't you? She didn't answer. I guess it's just hard, she mumbled, having your own daughter turn against you. I exhaled slowly. I didn't turn against you. You were never standing beside me to begin with. Click. That was the last time I spoke to her until 6 months later. I was opening my second office. The tech company I had quietly helped build had expanded into 3 cities. Owen was in school full-time, thriving, happy, safe. There was a knock at my door. Vanessa. She looked hollow. No makeup, no glamour, just a plain hoodie, dark circles under her eyes, and a folder in her trembling hands. I'm sorry, she whispered. I lost everything. Sponsors, clients, people. I thought I was strong, but I was just loud. You were the strong one. She held out the folder. Inside were therapy documents, legal apologies, a letter addressed to Owen. I don't expect forgiveness, she said, but I need you to know that I'm trying, and I'll never forgive myself for what I did. I didn't say anything, but Owen's words rang in my ears from that night. Why do they hate me, Mommy? I would never let that boy wonder again, so I took the folder, not for her, but for him, because he deserved to see that even monsters could learn to kneel, and that even if the world turned against you, truth always finds the light. Before you go, here's a quick bonus for sticking around. If you love learning and growing like I do, you need to try audiobooks. I've got an exclusive deal with Audible. Your first month is completely free. That's access to over 500,000 titles, 0 cost to you. All the details are waiting in the description. Don't miss this one.